We were arguing with Wiggy earlier about his take with regard to Jason Tatum, which is that he's past Giannis. And I don't know that you can say that at this point because you need him to be big in these games.
All right, so you can't. I agree with that. He's not a better player than Giannis overall because Giannis can impose his will and does impose his will on every single game. Tatum doesn't do that yet. When I put out he's a more complete player than anybody in the NBA right now, I wasn't saying he's the best player. I was just saying he's got the fewest amount of weaknesses. And on his best day, Jason Tatum can look like the best player in the NBA. But Giannis has his best day more often than Tatum does, more often than all these other guys. Why? He just plays hard. He shows up every single day. And, again, his game is built on physicality, his strength, his athleticism, where he doesn't settle for threes or jump shots nearly as much as Jason Tatum does.
And that's the only thing that I think can change Tatum's game, where use your size, your athletic ability. You're just as physically imposing as Giannis in the sense that you're
you're not.
You're what's he, 6'10"?
Yeah,
6'9"?
You're getting there. You're getting there. You're not 250. You're
right.
You're 225.
Right.
There's a difference.
But you still are a good enough athlete to, if you want to go to the hole and finish at the rim, you can do that. Now, the thing when I look at the Celtics team, I think their biggest issue is Tatum will bounce back. But to me, it's about 2 through 5 in that starting lineup or whoever's on the court. That's where I feel like there's so much inconsistency. And who is going to be the guy that steps up that you see them in tonight's game?
Well, I mean, again, Marcus Smart has to play well, right? I mean, he's kind of the key. I always say, I mean, point guard, they have the ball in their hands more than anybody else. So Marcus Smart's got to be a key. But I thought, listen, they dug themselves such a big hole in Game 3 because, frankly, Daniel Tice was on the court instead of Robert Williams, and Bam Adebayo was salivating when he saw Daniel Tice. And Bam Adebayo looked like AAU or high school Bam Adebayo, where he just got the ball and just wanted to score every time he touched the ball. And that was huge for them because they kind of needed a second guy. And really, he became their first guy because Jimmy Butler didn't show early and obviously was banged up and didn't come back for the second half. So, they can't allow that to happen defensively. They were so bad defensively in the first really quarter and a half and giving Miami completely wide open three-point shots and, uncontested shot after shot. And that's not what they've been all year. But, again, when you're putting Tice in there, the rotations are different. And again, Adebayo down low was able to take advantage, which then opened it up for all those uncontested shots on the perimeter.
Jeff, speaking of Butler being banged up, that Peyton Pritchard knee grab, did you think that was a dirty play?
I don't know about dirty. I don't know. I wouldn't say dirty. I wouldn't go that far, but go ahead.
A lot of people today saying that they want him to be suspended.
Give me a break.
Yeah, I just think the NBA, the way it's gone, it's painful to watch right now. Everything's a flagrant. Everything's a suspension. We need something in between what it was in the 80s where it was, WWE and what it is now, where every single call it looks like is, again, reviewed and, the elbow hit somebody or he grabbed, it's too much. It's too much right now.
Well, Jeff, I said a lot of that has to do with the amount of flopping that every guy in the NBA does, and so you don't know what's real and what's fake. When you look at this series and you start to look at Jason Tatum and this basketball team, what do you think the most important thing for Tatum is for him to kind of take that next step where if you don't think he's on that Giannis level, puts him on that Giannis level?
Consistency. It's clearly consistency for me, and I think everybody else would agree on that. Again, some nights he looks like the best player in the NBA, but you can't have, multiple nights here where you're not. Again, if you're shooting 3 for 14, that's one thing. It's how you shoot 3 for 14. If you're going to the basket and you're missing some shots around the rim that you normally make, but you're being assertive, you're being aggressive, I think everybody's okay with that. It's more, again, if you're settling, especially, he knows Bam Adebayo well. They've played forever against each other. And without Jimmy Butler on the court, you looked at it, you're like, okay, P.J. Tucker is 37. I love P.J. Tucker, but he's 37 and he's gimpy. He's 50% or 75%, whatever he is, he's banged up. And again, Kyle Lowry's playing for basically he's healthy for the first time in almost a month. So you got to be aggressive, and that's where, to me, Tatum. Now, again, if they win it all this year, they come back, they win this series, even if they get to Golden State, I think that puts them on a different level because then you're the best player on a team that went to the NBA Finals. That's a little different.
When you look at the injury report for tonight, do you think any of these guys listed as questionable aren't going to be playing, or do you think this is more of like the NFL approach where coaches are trying to, one up each other and keep you on your toes till game time?
Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? Some of it, but I will say, anytime I see Robert Williams on the injury report, I just assume he's not going to play. That's the way I've gotten to at this point.
But they got to have him tonight. I mean, you have to.
But how much faith do you guys have that he's going to show up on the court tonight? It's a flip of the coin to me. Pain tolerance. Everything's pain tolerance. I get it. These guys, again, when you watch guys like Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler, Marcus Smart miss games in the playoffs, you think to yourself, all right, it's changed. Because those are three of the toughest dudes in the NBA right now. So if they're missing games, I don't know. Again, I just, to me, if Robert Williams can get out there and give you 75%, that's enough for at least for 8-10 minutes that you don't have to throw Daniel Tice out there.
Jeff, how much falls on Ime to make sure Tatum is staying aggressive and putting him in situations where he doesn't have to settle for three-pointers and, fadeaway jump shots?
Listen, whatever buttons Ime has pushed with this team this year have worked. Mm-hmm. So I don't really question him and kind of, playing psychiatrist with Tatum and some of those other guys. He's done a hell of a job with it. So I trust him. And Tatum has usually bounced back almost every time, from some of those bad games. He's bounced back with a big game in the next one. So I think he'll be fine tonight. Like you said, Wiggy, earlier, like it's the others. It's the others that I think are going to have to come to show up tonight. And Marcus Smart, how healthy is he? He came right back in, but sometimes, again, the swelling, you give that a day, you wake up the next day, that's when it really hurts. Not immediately after. You're feeling good, but if, it'll be interesting to see how effective he is and how much. I mean, it just feels like there's always something with Marcus Smart, and rightfully so. I mean, the dude plays so hard. He's diving all over the floor and whatnot. But he's got to be good to go tonight.
Jeff, does it bother Marcus Smart's teammates that he is so me first post-game? Not after Game 3, obviously, but after Game 2. Yeah. I mean, the commentary was just, it's my team. These guys listen to me. Does that rub Tatum and Brown the wrong way ever?
I don't know. I haven't talked to them about that, but you got to assume they're probably used to it by now, right? I mean, that's kind of been how Marcus has been for the last few years, and it's actually been how Marcus has been his entire career. I remember sitting down with him for a while when he was at Oklahoma State, watching him plenty when he was coming up the ranks playing high school and AAU ball, and he commanded so much respect from everybody because of how hard he plays the game. That I think that's where it's hard to question what he says because he's going out there giving more than you are. Now, again, some of the things he says, one writer told me last year, I wasn't there for it, but they asked him about his perimeter shooting, and he said, I'm a great three-point shooter. And he was shooting like 28% from three at that point. He's delusional. He is delusional at times about who he is, but in a way that has helped him get to where he is. And again, sometimes you need that. You need that guy who just thinks he's the best player in the court, as long as he's not taking dumb shots, which he's been known to do in the past, but I think he's gotten a lot better at that.
Is he a leader by necessity? In other words, is he assuming the vacuum created by Tatum?
Yes, 100%. Tatum, Brown, Al Horford, those guys are so chill that I do think so. And Grant Williams is obviously the vocal guy on the team, but he hasn't done enough, right? Grant Williams is just worried about he's gotten so much better this year, but whatever he said in the past didn't mean a whole hell of a lot. So, yes, they need a guy because of especially when Brad Stevens was the head coach, because he didn't say a ton. So this year it's a little different because Ime is so vocal and we'll jump him and get into him. But I do think, out of necessity, Marcus Smart is the right guy for this team because he will challenge him.
Well, it's tough for Tatum to be a leader when he's busy whining about every single call. I mean, you've said it on this show a bunch of times. Yeah. That's the knock on him, and you saw it Saturday night.
I actually thought it was better for the most part Saturday night. Like, if you look at it in its totality, I actually think with how poorly he played, I expected him to be complaining more than he was. But, he's not gotten rid of it completely, and I'm not sure he ever will.
But, Jeff, isn't that how NBA players are now? If you watch number of like Luka Doncic is complaining after every play. It's, isn't that just the way the game is because of maybe the way AAU has kind of brought these guys up?
I think these players, the young guys like Tatum and Giannis, have watched LeBron and Chris Paul and, Perk and DeMarcus Cousins. Those guys were at a high level of complaining after every call. But even like LeBron, right? Everybody wanted to be LeBron. Well, that's all LeBron did was complain. Now, again, the one issue I have with Tatum compared to like a Chris Paul or even a LeBron to some degree, those guys will go over and talk to the refs. They'll complain that way. They'll give them an earful, but the entire crowd, all the fans won't necessarily see it, where Tatum throwing up your arms is the worst thing you can do because then the ref is just saying, all right, you're showing me up in front of the whole crowd. I'm going to hit you with the next one. I'm not giving you calls from here on out. So Giannis, he's different. He doesn't complain. He rarely complains. And I think, again, that's an area that Jason Tatum has to mature. Huge, huge importance for him. He's going to get calls now because he's on the fringe of being a superstar, if not already a superstar. And I use that term for like the top 3 or 5 guys in the league. But again, you want to be Giannis and get almost every call? Or do you want to be Russell Westbrook in his heyday that again, refs were like, nah, I'm not giving you the calls.
All right. Well, Wiggy has said it every game this series, but it appears a must-win tonight, Jeff, in your mind?
Yeah, but you know what? It's less of a must-win. It is a must-win. But again, when they went to Milwaukee, that was the ultimate must-win, and they responded. So I think they win this, and then it comes down to a 3-game series, and to me, then it's anybody's series. So obviously, yes, a complete must-win. You can't lose this game.
All right, Jeff Goodman, always great having you on. We'll talk to you again soon, I hope.
Thanks, guys.